Okay, good morning, guys. Well, it might not be morning, actually, it's morning for me. But hello again. This is the video accompanying the lessons you can see on the screen, which is giant covalent structures for Year 9 core, which will be your your week 5, lesson 1 chemistry lesson. That's the week beginning the 6th of July, I believe. For Year 9 triples, it's your week 4, lesson 1 chemistry, which is the week beginning the 29th of June, I believe. And Year 10 core, week 4, lesson 1 chemistry, again, the week beginning the 29th of June. I hope you're all safe and well still. I hope you're all managing to access some of the work, and hope you're all coping with whatever stage of the lockdown slash easing of lockdown we're at by the point of working through this video. So, start with 5 questions on the previous material we've covered. So if you want to pause the video and have a go at these, and then we'll go through the answers. Okay, so 5 questions there on the bonding we looked at last lesson. So, looking at the answers, number 1, what do we call bonding where atoms share electrons? That is covalent bonding. Remember, sharing is caring, covalent. Number 2, what type of elements form these bonds? These bonds form between non-metals. Remember from previous work we've done, if it's a metal and a non-metal, that is ionic bonding. Non-metals form covalent bonds where they share electrons. Number 3, what kind of bond forms if only one pair of electrons is shared between atoms? That would form a single bond. Number 4, how many pairs of electrons would 2 oxygen atoms share? Well, they would share 2 pairs of electrons. Because each oxygen atom has 6 electrons in its outer shell, it therefore has 2 pairs and 2 unpaired electrons, making 6. Those 2 unpaired electrons would be shared with another oxygen atom, giving each atom effectively 8 electrons in its outer shell, because it would have 2 pairs of its own and 2 shared pairs, because it's sharing its 2 free electrons with the other atom. Likewise, question 5, how many pairs of electrons would nitrogen atoms share? They would share 3 pairs, so they would have a triple covalent bond between them, because nitrogen has 5 electrons in its outer shell, 1 pair, and 3 free electrons, which they then share with the other nitrogen atom, giving them, again, effectively 8 electrons in their outer shell, because they've got the pair of their own, with 3 others that they already had, and they're sharing another 3 with the other atom. Okay, so hopefully we're quite clear on covalent bonding, shared electrons between non-metal atoms. So, moving on, the facts from the fact book that you're covering today are looking at some specific covalent structures, very specifically diamond and graphite, and there are some key points you need to know about them and to a certain extent be able to explain about them, which you will be able to by the time we finish this video. So, there's a little video clip there. You can click on the link, or you can type the link in from the screen, or however you want to do it, that backs up some of the stuff I'm saying, and quite possibly explains it in a different or more effective way than I might do, but it's just a different angle on the same information, so that's worth a watch. Okay, so we'll do a little bit of background on covalent substances, and then look at these ones that we need to know about in detail. So simple covalent substances are things like carbon dioxide, which is obviously carbon and oxygen, water, which is obviously hydrogen and oxygen, methane, which is carbon and hydrogen. All of those are simple covalent substances. They have what we call simple molecules because they are not large molecules, they don't contain large numbers of atoms, and they don't contain large numbers of different substances. So they're what we call simple covalent substances. There's water, for example, hydrogen atoms bonded to oxygen atoms, the whole thing together, the 1 oxygen and the 2 hydrogens, H2O, is called a molecule. So in a glass of water, for example, you would have millions of these molecules, each made up of 1 oxygen atom bonded covalently to 2 hydrogen atoms. The attractions between the molecules in covalent substances are weak. Okay, the covalent bonds themselves are strong. So within a glass of water, again, using water as the example, the attraction between the molecules, so there's one molecule, there's another molecule, the attractions between the molecules in a covalent substance like water are quite weak. But the attractions between the atoms in a molecule, the actual covalent bonds themselves, are strong. So what that means is that gives simple covalent substances certain properties. It's quite difficult. It is possible to split water up into separate hydrogen and oxygen again using an electric current, but it takes quite a lot to do that because the covalent bonds between the hydrogen and oxygen atoms are strong. However, to split up water, to break the connection between the actual molecules, doesn't necessarily take a huge amount of energy because the attractions between the molecules are not strong. Okay, so the bonds within the molecules are strong, the bonds between the atoms, but the attractions between the molecules are not so strong. That's a key point there. So what that means is, when simple covalent molecules change state, they can only do that at certain temperatures. So they will only be a liquid or a solid if the temperature is low enough that they don't have enough energy to break the attractions between the molecules. Okay, it doesn't take a lot of energy to break the attractions between the molecules because the attractions between the molecules are weak. So what that means is they have low melting and boiling points. So if you look at some examples here, even water melts at 0 degrees. So that's what we call, that's the melting point and the freezing point of water, depending whether you're heating it up or cooling it down. 0 degrees, that is enough energy. So once you get past 0 degrees, that will provide the water with enough energy for the attractions between the molecules to break. So it will no longer be a solid, it will start to melt. It has a boiling point of 100 degrees. So at room temperature, about 22 degrees, the molecules already have enough energy to have overcome the attractions that held them as a solid, and they'll be a liquid. And looking at some other simple covalent substances, even lower, minus 138, minus 0.5. So at 0 degrees, butane has already evaporated. That's how weakly its molecules are held together. The molecules are still intact. Each one is still 4 carbons and 10 hydrogens bonded, but the molecules are not held to each other strongly. The atoms are held together strongly inside the molecules, but the molecules are not held strongly to each other. Methane, again, see carbon and hydrogen, it melts at minus 182, it boils at minus 164, so it's already evaporated by the time you get to room temperature. Likewise for carbon dioxide, oxygen, hydrogen melts at minus 259, it evaporates, it boils and becomes a gas at minus 252. So not very much energy at all needed to split up one hydrogen molecule from another hydrogen molecule. But the molecules themselves, the atoms in the molecules, are held together strongly. Okay, so that's simple covalent substances. Now, simple covalent substances do not conduct electricity, okay, because the molecules aren't charged. There's no electrical charge on the molecules, so they cannot carry electrical charge, so they do not conduct electricity. Okay, now, moving on to the ones we need to know about in a little bit more detail, we're going to look at giant covalent substances. Okay, so in these materials, there are strong covalent bonds between the atoms, which create giant structures. Okay, so rather than little small molecules like H2O or CH4, you have large structures of atoms all joined together with covalent bonds. So diamond, for example, that's just part of a diamond structure. Each carbon atom is joined to 4 others. So it has made 4 covalent bonds with 4 other carbon atoms. And that structure just repeats throughout the whole structure of the diamond. So depending how big the diamond is, that dictates how many carbon atoms there are. A very small piece of diamond would not have as many carbon atoms, but they are all bonded to 4 other carbon atoms. They're not separate molecules joined together weakly. They are one big molecule, if you want, of carbon atoms, one big structure rather, of carbon atoms all bonded to 4 other carbon atoms. Okay? We don't need to worry about silicon dioxide. It doesn't do any harm to be aware of it, but it has a similar structure to diamond, except it's not made of carbon. It's made of silicon and oxygen atoms bonded. But again, every silicon atom is bonded to 4 oxygen atoms, and that repeats through the whole structure. Now, this gives them certain properties, okay? Because they are all joined to other atoms by strong covalent bonds, that means unlike simple covalent structures, they have very high melting and boiling points, and they are usually very hard and very strong. Diamond, as we know, is a very, very hard substance. Now, because they're all bonded covalently, there is no charge within the structure, so they do not conduct electricity. So those are some of the key points. Diamond, as you remember if you look at the fact book, is a very hard substance because all the carbons are bonded to 4 other carbons. And it does not conduct electricity because there are no free electrons. All the electrons are being shared to create the 4 bonds with each of the other carbon atoms. So it does not conduct electricity. Now, graphite is the other one you need to know about. It is an exception. Okay, we use graphite in pencil leads, we use it in certain types of lubricants and so on because of some of the properties it has. Graphite is slightly different. It is also made up of carbon, the same as diamond, but unlike diamond, each carbon atom in graphite is only bonded to 3 other carbon atoms. So graphite forms in layers of carbon atoms, all bonded together. So the bonds between the carbon atoms are very strong, so the layers are held together strongly, but between the layers you have got weak forces holding the layers together. Now that gives graphite some of its properties. So you've got strong bonds between the atoms in each layer, but the connections or the forces between the layers are weak. And what that means is, if you apply force to the layers, they will slide over each other. And that's why graphite is quite soft and slippery. That's why we can use it in pencils, because when you apply force on the paper, the layers of graphite slide off and you're left with a trace of it on the paper, which is what our writing shows up as. Okay, likewise as a lubricant, it means the layers can slide off each other because it's soft and slippery. Okay, what it also means is, because each carbon atom is only bonded to 3 others, you have got spare electrons, or what we call delocalized or free electrons in between the layers. Now that's very important because those electrons, as you know, are negatively charged. So that gives the structure negative charges that can move through the structure between the layers. What that means is, graphite still has high melting and high boiling point because it still takes a lot of energy to break the bonds between the carbon atoms, but unlike diamond, it is very soft and slippery because the layers will slide over each other, and because it has free electrons between the layers, that means graphite does conduct electricity. Okay, unlike other covalent substances, graphite does conduct electricity because the free electrons between the layers, shown in green here, they can move through the structure and carry electrical charge. Okay, so looking back at what you needed to know from the fact book, diamond is very hard because each carbon atom has 4 strong covalent bonds with 4 other carbon atoms. It does not conduct electricity because all of the electrons are being shared in these bonds, so there are no free electrons. Graphite is soft and slippery because between the layers of carbon atoms, there are only weak forces holding the layers together so they can slide off each other, and because each carbon atom is only bonded to 3 other carbons, there are free electrons or delocalized electrons between the layers which can carry electrical charge, and that's why graphite does conduct electricity. Okay, hopefully that's been helpful. Thank you.